I'm not like human women, she whispered, but I loved what she had. Starlight encounters, the rotating rings of Nexus space station hummed with activity as diplomats from 12 different worlds gathered in the grand atrium. Dr. Marcus Reed adjusted his formal science division uniform, feeling out of place among the political elite. As the station's leading xenobiologist, his presence was required at the reception, but he preferred his laboratory to these social functions. Quite the gathering, isn't it? Remarked his colleague, Dr. Sato. The Lysanthian delegation arrived this morning, their first official visit to human space in decades. Marcus nodded absently, his attention suddenly captured by movement near the entrance. A slender figure glided into the room, her skin a rich shade of purple that seemed to shimmer under the atrium lights. Her hair fell in waves of deeper violet, adorned with small crystalline ornaments that caught and refracted light. Unlike the other diplomats who moved in clustered groups, she walked alone, her gait graceful but hesitant. "That's Ambassador Nyara," whispered Sato. "The Lysanthian representative. Fascinating species, evolved in a binary star system with unique radiation patterns. Their epidermis contains properties we've barely begun to understand." But Marcus wasn't thinking about her biology in that moment. He was struck by her expression, a careful mask of diplomatic neutrality that didn't quite hide a profound curiosity and perhaps a touch of isolation. When Station Commander Chen called for the formal introductions, Marcus found himself positioned near the Lysanthian delegation. Up close, he noticed Nyara's eyes, large, with irises the color of dawn flecked with gold. "Dr. Marcus Reed, our xenobiology department head," announced Commander Chen. Nyara extended her hand in the human greeting she had clearly studied. "Ambassador Nyara of the Lysanthian Collective. Your research on interspecies adaptations is known even in our academic circles." Her voice carried a melodic quality, with subtle harmonics human vocal cords couldn't produce. Marcus took her hand carefully, noting the similar structure. 5 fingers, though more slender than human proportions, and the unexpectedly warm temperature of her skin. "You're familiar with my work?" he asked, surprised. A smile curved her violet lips. "I requested all relevant data on human biological sciences before accepting this posting. Your papers were most illuminating." Their hands remained connected a moment longer than protocol dictated, and Marcus felt an unexpected current between them. Not just scientific interest, but something more elemental. Later, as the reception continued, Marcus observed Nyara navigating the political landscape with practiced diplomacy, yet occasionally, when the attention shifted elsewhere, her composed facade slipped, revealing glimpses of someone far more complex than her official role suggested. When their eyes met across the room, neither looked away. In that silent exchange, Marcus recognized something familiar, the feeling of being an observer rather than a participant, of analyzing the room rather than being part of it. Before the evening ended, they found themselves at the same refreshment table. Nyara selected a glass of blue liquid suitable for her physiology. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "you might show me your research facility sometime, Doctor. I find myself curious about many aspects of your work." The way she hesitated made Marcus wonder if research was all she was curious about. "I'd be honored." "Ambassador," he replied, discovering he meant it. "Any time." Whispers between worlds. 3 weeks into the Lysanthian diplomatic mission, Marcus found himself spending more time in Nyara's company than his research required. Today they stood in the dimly lit observatory dome, surrounded by the endless tapestry of stars. The cultural exchange initiative they co-headed had become a convenient excuse for their frequent meetings. "The Cassiopeia Nebula," Marcus said, pointing to a colorful cloud of cosmic dust. From Earth, ancient humans saw a queen's chair in those stars. Nyara leaned closer to follow his gesture, her shoulder brushing against his. "Fascinating how different species find patterns in chaos. On Lysanthia, we call that formation the dreamer's canvas. The proximity between them felt charged with unspoken possibilities. In the starlight, her purple skin took on an almost luminescent quality, tiny bioluminescent freckles becoming visible across her cheekbones. "What stories do your people tell about it?" Marcus asked, more interested in her voice than the nebula. Nyara's expression softened. "That it's where creative thoughts go when we sleep, gathering there before returning as inspiration." She hesitated, then added more quietly, I used to imagine traveling there someday. And instead, you became a diplomat. My family has served the collective for generations. Personal desires are secondary to duty. She turned to face him. What about you? Did you always want to study alien life forms? Marcus smiled. I was the child turning over rocks to see what lived underneath. The universe just gave me bigger rocks to look under. Their laughter mingled in the quiet space, and for a moment, the titles of ambassador and doctor fell away. As the station rotated, bringing the massive gas giant Epsilon into view through the dome, Niara's expression grew pensive. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever truly belong anywhere. Too unconventional for Lysanthian tradition, yet she gestured to herself. Obviously not human. Does that bother you? Being different? Marcus asked carefully. She was silent for several moments. I'm not like human women, she finally whispered. My people value uniformity, collectivity, but I've always felt drawn to individual connections, to understanding singular experiences rather than universal ones. It makes me an oddity among my kind and an alien among yours. Marcus found himself reaching for her hand. Difference isn't deficiency, he said. It's where discovery happens. In my research and elsewhere. Their fingers intertwined, purple against tan, and neither pulled away. The universe expanded beyond the dome, but in that moment, all of its wonder seemed concentrated in the small space between them. Tomorrow, Niara said eventually, the Lysanthian science attaché wishes to discuss terraforming protocols. Would you join us? I find your perspective valuable. As your scientific advisor? Her eyes met his, gold flecks shimmering, among other capacities. When they parted that evening, the lingering touch of her hand felt imprinted on his skin, a map to territory yet unexplored. Beyond the stars, the emergency alert shattered the pre-dawn quiet of Nexus Station. Marcus raced down the corridor toward the environmental control hub, nearly colliding with Niara at an intersection. What's happening? She asked, falling into step beside him. Micrometeorite breach in the eastern quadrant. The atmospheric filters are failing, he explained as they rushed forward. The commander called for all science personnel. The control hub was chaos, technicians shouting over one another as warning lights flashed across monitoring screens. Commander Chen spotted them immediately. Dr. Reed, Ambassador Niara, we need both your expertise. The impact damaged our primary atmospheric processor. The backup systems are compensating, but they're not designed for our current population levels. The Lysanthian delegation has atmospheric technology that might help, Niara offered. Our ships are equipped with molecular restructuring filters. We'd need to reconfigure them for station use, Marcus added, already calculating adaptations. Chen nodded grimly. Make it happen. We have less than 6 hours before oxygen levels become critical. What followed was an intricate dance of knowledge and skill. Marcus marveled at how seamlessly they worked together. His understanding of station systems complemented by Niara's expertise with Lysanthian technology. Where he hesitated, she advanced. When she questioned, he clarified. 3 hours in, drenched in sweat and technical jargon, they reached a crucial juncture in the adaptation process. The interface won't accept the programming, Marcus muttered in frustration. The molecular matrices are incompatible. Niara studied the problem, then unexpectedly placed her hands over his on the control panel. Not incompatible, she corrected gently. Simply speaking different languages. Like us. Her touch steadied him, and suddenly the solution became clear. We need a translation layer, something that understands both systems. Working side by side, they created a hybrid protocol that bridged human and Lysanthian technology. When the atmospheric processors finally hummed back to life, the relief in the control room was palpable. Chen ordered most personnel to rest while monitoring continued. In the quiet aftermath, Marcus and Niara found themselves alone in the adjacent observation room, the crisis having stripped away pretense and protocol. You were remarkable, Marcus said softly. The way you understood exactly what was needed. We were remarkable, Niara corrected, moving closer. Together. The adrenaline of the emergency still coursed through them, heightening every sensation. When Niara reached up to touch his face, her fingers trembling slightly, Marcus felt something shift between them, a barrier dissolving like the atmospheric boundaries they'd just repaired. I've never met anyone like you, he admitted, human or otherwise. Nor I you, she whispered. It frightens me what I feel when we're together. On Lysanthia, we're taught that emotional attachment clouds judgment. Did it cloud yours today? No, she said after a thoughtful pause. It clarified everything. The space between them narrowed, charged with possibility. Nyara's eyes searched his, seeking permission or reassurance. In response, Marcus slowly leaned forward, giving her time to retreat if she wished. She didn't. Instead, she met him halfway, their lips connecting in a kiss that crossed more than physical distance. It bridged worlds. Cosmic intimacy, 2 days after the emergency. Marcus paced his quarters, unable to focus on his research. The kiss he'd shared with Nyara haunted his thoughts, along with the way she gently pulled away afterward, whispering she needed time to process what was happening between them. A soft chime at his door interrupted his thoughts. When it slid open, Nyara stood there, no longer in her formal diplomatic attire but dressed in simpler clothing that accentuated the graceful curves of her body. "May I come in?" she asked, her voice carrying that musical quality that had captivated him from the start. Once inside, she moved to the viewport, gazing at the stars. "I've spent 2 days in meditation, trying to reconcile my feelings with my duties." She turned to face him. "In Lysanthian culture, we're taught to subordinate personal desires to collective needs." Marcus approached cautiously. "And what did you conclude?" "That perhaps understanding between our peoples begins with understanding between individuals." Her eyes met his with newfound determination. "I want to explore what's between us, Marcus. Not as a diplomat, but as myself." The sound of his given name on her lips broke something loose inside him. He closed the distance between them, taking her hands in his. "I've thought of nothing else since we kissed." This time when their lips met, there was no hesitation. Her mouth was warm against his, her scent reminiscent of exotic spices and something uniquely her own. His hands found the small of her back, drawing her closer as the kiss deepened. "I'm not," she breathed against his mouth. "I've never been with a human." Marcus pulled back slightly. "We can take this slowly. Or stop entirely. Whatever you want." Nyara's fingers traced the contours of his face. "I want to discover you," she whispered. "All of you." What followed was a gentle exploration of similarities and differences. Marcus marveled at how her purple skin flushed a deeper violet under his touch, how the bioluminescent patterns across her body brightened with her arousal. Their bodies fit together with surprising compatibility, despite the subtle anatomical variations between their species. He kissed his way along the column of her neck, feeling her pulse quicken beneath his lips. Her fingers tangled in his hair, guiding him as she whispered encouragement in both English and her native tongue, the Lysanthian words sounding like poetry even untranslated. When he hesitated at a particularly sensitive area, she took his hand and guided it. "Here," she murmured. "We feel most deeply." Later, as they lay entwined in his bed, their bodies cooling in the aftermath of passion, Nyara traced lazy patterns on his chest. "In Lysanthian literature," she said softly, "there's an ancient concept called soul binding, when two beings resonate so perfectly that their energies become harmonized." "We have similar ideas," Marcus replied, stroking her violet hair. "Soulmates, kindred spirits. Is that what we are?" she asked, vulnerability evident in her voice. Marcus considered the question seriously. "I don't know if we have words for what we are. Maybe we're writing something new together." Nyara propped herself up on one elbow, studying his face with those remarkable eyes. "My appointment to this station was meant to last 6 months, she said. After that, he pressed a finger to her lips. "Let's not think about endings yet. We've only just discovered our beginning." She smiled and settled back against him, her form fitting perfectly against his side. As sleep began to claim them both, Marcus reflected that in all his years studying the universe's diversity, nothing had prepared him for finding this unexpected connection. This woman who was both alien and utterly familiar to his heart. Universal language. The news spread quickly through Nexus Station. The xenobiologist and the Lysanthian ambassador were more than professional colleagues. Some regarded their relationship with fascination, others with concern, and a vocal few with outright disapproval. Marcus tried to ignore the whispers as he made his way to the diplomatic quarter for the scheduled interspecies council meeting. The past month with Nyara had been the happiest of his life. But today's transmission from Earth Central Command had cast a shadow over everything. He found Niara in heated discussion with Valen, the elder statesman of the Lysanthian delegation. Their conversation in their native language stopped abruptly when they noticed his arrival. "Dr. Reed," Valen acknowledged stiffly before departing. Niara's expression was troubled as she approached. "You've heard from your government?" Marcus nodded grimly. "Earth Central is concerned about our relationship affecting diplomatic neutrality. They're suggesting I be reassigned to the research outpost on Titan." "The collective has similar concerns," she said, her voice tight with controlled emotion. "They've requested I return to Lysanthia for recalibration of diplomatic parameters." The bureaucratic language couldn't disguise the intent: separation. "They can't simply order us apart," Marcus protested, though he knew the reality was more complicated. His career, her position, both were vulnerable. Niara's eyes glistened. "What options do we have? Defy both our peoples? Where would we go?" The council meeting passed in a blur of diplomatic platitudes, neither of them fully present despite their physical attendance. Afterward, seeking privacy away from judgmental eyes, they retreated to the station's arboretum, surrounded by plant species from dozens of worlds. Among the alien foliage, Niara finally broke down. "All my life I've done what was expected of me. Represented my people, upheld traditions, even those I questioned." Her voice cracked. "For the first time I've found something that feels genuinely mine, and I'm being told to abandon it." Marcus pulled her close, breathing in her familiar scent. "What do you want, Niara? Not what the collective wants, not what's expected. What do you want?" "You," she answered without hesitation. "A chance to see where this leads. To discover who we could be together." She pulled back to look at him. "But at what cost? We'd be exiles." "Maybe," Marcus said slowly, "an idea forming, or maybe pioneers." That evening, they drafted a proposal unprecedented in interspecies relations, a joint research initiative studying the potential for human Lysanthian cultural integration, with themselves as the primary case study. They would document everything: the challenges, the misunderstandings, the discoveries, and the growth. "They can't argue with science," Marcus said as they finalized the document. Niara smiled skeptically. "You underestimate bureaucracy's resistance to change." When they presented their proposal to both Commander Chen and the Lysanthian Council, the initial response was predictably negative. But Chen, who had witnessed their seamless collaboration during the station crisis, became an unexpected ally. "The purpose of Nexus Station is to bridge different worlds," she reminded the authorities from both sides. "Dr. Reed and Ambassador Niara have already demonstrated the value of their partnership. Perhaps it's time we learn from them, rather than separate them." 3 tense weeks followed, filled with video conferences, diplomatic negotiations, and moments of private doubt. But eventually, reluctant approval came from both governments. A 1-year trial period for their research, after which the results would be evaluated. Standing at the observatory dome where they had first begun to acknowledge their feelings, Niara leaned against Marcus as they watched the stars. "1 year," she mused. "Do you think it's enough time to prove what's between us has value?" Marcus turned her to face him, taking in every detail of her beautiful alien features that had become so dear to him. "It's a start," he said, "and I intend to make every moment count." She smiled, the gold flecks in her eyes catching the starlight. "On Lysanthia there's an expression: the universe speaks many languages, but understanding requires only an open heart." "Then we're already fluent," Marcus replied, drawing her into his embrace. As their lips met, with the cosmos spinning around them, neither could say with certainty what the future held. But they knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. 2 beings from different worlds who had found, against all odds, a universal language in each other's arms.